Deputy Harris? Daryl Booth. Hope you like flying. I never flew a fugitive before.
Government witness, not a fugitive.
Ready to go?
Is it always this bumpy?
You get used to it. Moretti is very disappointed in you, and he wants you dead.
Oh, shit.
You ever see a face turn this color before? Huh? I'm gonna tear you apart. Y'all need a pilot?
Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we love talking about movies and more. I'm your host, Mason Phillips, and today we have a movie review for Mel Gibson's new movie, Flight Risk, starring Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace. Before we get any further in this review, I want to ask you guys to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about the plot. A pilot transports an air marshal accompanying a fugitive to trial. As they cross the Alaskan wilderness, tensions soar and trust is tested, as not everyone on board is who they seem. All right, so what was good about Flight Risk? Well, unfortunately, not so much. This is probably going to be one of my least favorite movies of the entire 2025 season, and I hate to say it, but there's not a lot of good in this movie. There is a good movie in here somewhere, but it is so muddled by dumb decision-making, poor writing, poor directing, and just bad acting. I don't know where this movie went wrong. Mel Gibson is a competent director. I like his films, Hacksaw Ridge, he did The Passion of the Christ. He is a great director, but he comes back with Flight Risk, and this just feels like a bad B-movie that belongs on Netflix. I don't think this movie deserved a theatrical experience, to be honest. There's a good premise here. Mark Wahlberg is playing this hitman. He usually doesn't play a bad guy. We're used to seeing him play the good guy in all these movies. Plays a bad guy, plays a hitman. He's after Topher Grace's character. Topher Grace used to work for a mob boss as an accountant. Now he's a witness for the United States Marshal's Office, and Mark Wahlberg's character has been hired to gun him down, to take care of Topher Grace, to take him out. And it's an interesting story on its basis, but a lot of the things that bog this movie down are Mark Wahlberg's portrayal. He's playing Marky Mark. He's playing Mark Wahlberg in this. He doesn't really bring anything new to this character. There's a lot of times when he was allowed to just quip and to bring a lot of his own stuff into the script that feels like Mel Gibson just let Mark Wahlberg let loose and just start spouting off whatever came to his mind, and I don't think that was the brightest idea. I don't know if that's what happened here, but that's what it feels like. It feels like they just let him run free with the dialogue and then just start spouting off whatever came to his mind. Topher Grace, he's quite whiny through the whole thing, and Topher Grace is a pretty competent actor. I like seeing him in projects. I don't see him in a lot of stuff, and so it was nice to see him come back into Flight Risk, and I was not impressed with him at all, and it's sad because he's actually probably the best part of the movie. And Michelle Dockery, I know her to be a pretty great actress too. She comes from Downton Abbey. She comes from these other great projects, and unfortunately, she just plays this entire role very, very flat. I think that is a fault of Mel Gibson for not directing her in a better way, because I know she's a pretty good actor. I know all these actors to be better than what they brought to this movie. So I unfortunately have to give the blame to Mel Gibson, who I also know is a very competent director. He can make Oscar-worthy films like Hacksaw Ridge. He can make great gripping films like The Passion of the Christ, but he comes and does Flight Risk. And I've heard it said by other YouTubers that this movie feels like it was a first draft, and they took the first draft. They did not do any rewrites, any revisions. They took the initial premise and applied that to the filmmaking, applied that to the shooting of this film, and it just does not work. I don't really have much to say on the good. I don't even know if I've been saying anything good. I will say this. The flight traffic control guy in the film, he was quite funny. I thought his jokes landed, and I thought his stuff really worked. That's the best thing I have to say about this movie, so let's go ahead and move on to the mixed section. All right, so what was mixed about Flight Risk? This movie is muddled with mixed. I didn't end up liking this film at the end of the day. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you this. I don't really care for this movie, but there's a lot of promise in here. This movie is so frustrating because I can see how good it could have been versus what we actually got with the final product that was released in theaters. This movie does feel, unfortunately, like one of those January movies that they just dropped because they didn't know what to do with this movie. They thought they had a good premise at the beginning. They thought they had a strong project to start with, and it just fell completely apart. The premise of Mark Wahlberg's playing this hitman. They think he's their pilot. Michelle Dockery and Topher Grace think that he's actually their pilot. He actually took out the pilot, took his place, and the whole movie is set within the plane. About 90% of the film takes place in this plane, and that could offer to be a very good placement for the film. I've seen movies like this work. One that comes to mind right now is the Liam Neeson film Nonstop. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but that movie was far more entertaining than this movie ever was. Now, that was on a commercial airliner, so you had a little bit more room to work with. But this one just fell apart completely. You're in a tight space. There's just bad decision making. Michelle Dockery's character, she makes dumb decision after dumb decision, and she's put in the position that she is in this movie is because of a dumb decision that she made in the past. And they want you to think that this character has learned from her mistakes, but she gets her supervisor killed because of a misunderstanding that could have easily been cleared up. If they really wanted it to be attention driving and they wanted these plot twists to really work, because there's two plot twists that they try to make work in this movie, or rather three. You see all of them coming from a mile away, and when you learn that the second plot twist was a fake out, that one was pretty easy to figure out as well, and it is so frustrating. I was so dumbfounded when I realized that that's the direction they were taking this movie in. I don't know what happened. Again, Mel Gibson is a competent director. Mark Wahlberg's a competent actor. Topher Grace is a good actor, and Michelle Dockery is a much better actress than what she did here. So I just have no idea what happened. And then another thing that was super, super mixed was the visuals in this movie. There's sometimes when it looks really, really good, sometimes when it looks super cheap, and maybe they just used AI to create certain scenes. They filmed on the volume or something to create some of these plane sequences, some of these flight sequences. A lot of cheap CGI here. It's a little mixed. I don't want to go more into the mix. Let's just go on to the bad section. So what was bad about Flight Risk? The worst thing about this movie is I could see the promise of this film. I know what they were trying to do. There is a good movie in here somewhere, but pun intended, this movie does not stick the landing. It is not worth your time. I don't recommend you go see this in theaters. I mean, if you have nothing better to do, if you really want to go out and see something in theaters this week, go see Flight Risk. But I promise, if you just wait a little bit longer, better movies are coming along. We're only just now getting into the 2025 season. I wish I had a better movie to kick off my 2025 film season. Unfortunately, I did not. Flight Risk is where I started last year's 2024 season. It was nice. I started with The Beekeeper starring Jason Statham. That was a nice movie to get my 2024 year kick started. 2025 just brought a huge dud. I did not like Flight Risk. This was a huge misfire, and it is so surprising that the talent behind this movie could not create something better than what we got. I wish I could say that this was a better experience for you, but unfortunately that is not what I can say here. I can't recommend this movie to you guys. I recommend that you wait and see this movie at least on streaming. But do I recommend you see it at all? Not really. I think you'll have a much better time with other movies that are coming out later this year, but that's up to you guys. If you want to see this movie, then by all means, go for it. I just wish that we had a better experience. There's a better movie in here, and I just wish they would have cooked with it a little bit longer. If I'm going to give this movie a rating, it has got to be a 2 out of 5 or a D+ on the letter scale. The only reason I give it a 2 is because I know what they were going for. There is a good movie in here somewhere, but unfortunately I can't give it a higher score because there is just so much problematic filmmaking happening here. So many things that could easily have been fixed before they shipped this thing out to theaters. And so with that, I leave this review with you guys. Go down in the comment section and let me know what you thought of Flight Risk if you have had a chance to see it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Before you guys go, remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. Hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.